Live from the Hub Studios in the Atascadero, this is a Clarion Voice. This is Mark Sopowitz for a Clarion Voice, and welcome to Tuesday morning, May the 2nd, 2023. A little bit rainy for those of us here in Atascadero and Paso Robles, but we hope that you're enjoying your day. And today we are going to do something a slight bit different. We're going to bring one of our crew before the cameras instead of behind the cameras today. And so it's my pleasure to welcome Debbie Buckheim to Clarion Voice. Debbie, thank you very much for coming out from behind the camera.
Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Debbie.
Thank you.
And Debbie, we just wanted to find out a little bit about you.
Well, I started going there. Actually, I just got saved in 2017
oh, I
in
see.
February, and the Lord just completely took me in a new direction from that point on. And I had lost my husband about 6 months before that, and I got to the point where I just did not want to live anymore, and I was so far away from God by the time my husband died that I didn't know. All I knew is I didn't want to be around. And so I just one day got on my bedroom floor and I said, God, if you're there and if you can hear me, come in and change my life, because life is dead for me now since my husband's gone. And he did, in a big way. And 2 weeks later, I had been trying to drink myself to death, and I decided it would take too long. But I woke up one day 2 weeks after that day on my bedroom floor, and I knew, I don't know how, but I knew I wasn't going to drink anymore. I had no desire. And then the following weeks after that, I started getting desires to look for a church.
I see. Okay.
And I tried different ones and they just didn't feel quite right. And I found one by accident in Garden Farms. I was out there looking at a pollinating garden. Some guy had planted this garden just for pollinators, for bees and butterflies. And
Okay.
And I started driving away, and I saw this little old white church, and I thought, that is so cute. And they had the marquee said they worshiped, they got together at 6 on Sundays, and I thought that's perfect time for me. So I got there, and the first thing, Judy Hedges came right up to me, and she was like, "Come here," and I knew that I was home. I knew that's where I learned to worship. And Judy discipled me and really took me under her wing and told me so much about the Lord and the Bible, and just, practical things too. Judy's very practical. And the pastor and his wife did amazing worship, and I really learned to put my whole heart and my whole body into it there. It was beautiful. In fact, I had an experience, Judy and I had an experience with I think it was an angel, might have been Jesus. We were standing there with our eyes closed, with our arms up in the air, like we usually did, and worshiping to the music. And all of a sudden we felt somebody put like a really soft hand down my back and down her shoulder. And we both looked at each other all of a sudden and we said, "Was that you?" And there was nobody and the church besides us in the congregation part. So anyway, so that was like a big, wonderful experience. But and then a couple months after I started going there, Judy took me to the Generals, and I, I'd never experienced anything like that before, speaking in tongues. And
Well, for those people who don't know anything about the Generals, why don't you tell people what the Generals is all about, to begin with?
well, the Generals, Delinda Redding, actually her mother started it and she carried it on. But it's a place to come. We're right next door to Harvest Health Foods in Atascadero. And it's a place where people can come who are hungry for more. And it could be unbelievers or believers, but her desire was to launch people who were older, who felt like they didn't have anything to give anymore, who felt like they just needed to retire because there wasn't anything left for them to do. And she just gives us purpose. She's given us, she just lets the Lord lead her, and she's gone now, but and it's a place where you can find God's love and teachings and worship music. And
Before you had your epiphany in 2017, what was your background before you came to Christ?
well, when I was a kid, my mom would watch Billy Graham crusades on TV, and I loved watching them. And we had a Bible, but nobody ever read it, and we didn't go to church really. So I didn't really have any outside influence about what God looked like, or I never had anybody explain to me what it meant and what it looked like to be saved, and that you needed it. So I just knew I loved Billy Graham, and I just went on from there. I grew up, and I've always read books about Jesus, about God, and some of my favorites were Catherine Marshall and, oh gosh, C.S. Lewis. My husband introduced me to C.S. Lewis. I still love his books, but it never really impacted my life to the point where it changed my life, because it was all head knowledge, and it hadn't gotten into my heart, because I didn't know what it looked like to be saved, so I didn't know I needed to. So anyway, so we went on. We were very happy. I had a wonderful husband. In fact, I would tell people he's not really a human, because he's too good to be human. He's an angel. I would tell, because he was so good, and much better than I deserved. I know that. And he started getting physical problems starting in 95, and they just progressed. And I won't go into detail, but
Sure.
it eventually cost him his life. And during the last few years, I was reaching out to try to find answers, because I felt like I didn't have any anchor to hold on to. And all I knew was that we had this diagnosis where we knew he only had a short time left. I got into Buddhism. I got into New Age, just looking for answers, looking for something that would give me hope. And I never really, I always came up empty. And then he passed, and I was so far away from God when he passed that I even went to psychics to find out what happened to him. Where did he go? Is he okay? And I didn't realize how much God detests that, because I didn't know the Bible. And so he just came into my life and just changed it completely, changed my desires, he gave me hope, which I didn't have. I didn't
But you didn't
realize.
have any church affiliation or anything like that at the time when your husband passed,
No,
correct?
no.
So you got on the floor and you prayed, and then the Spirit just came upon you.
And I didn't feel anything at the time. It wasn't like a bolt of lightning that came out of the sky.
Right,
I didn't know if anything happened, but I knew because the days and the weeks following, things were changing. And I got new desires, and I started getting this hope, which I didn't even know at the time, that God was changing, had come into my life. But there was the evidence. I mean, it was obvious he had done something. I would like to get into deliverance. Um, I'm not sure what that's going to look like,
right.
but all I know is I want to be trained as much as I possibly can be, and to learn about his kingdom and what he wants me to do. I just want to be led for what he
Okay,
wants next.
okay. I know you're learning a lot about the technical aspects of, you know, working. And for the generals, you do. What is your responsibilities there at the generals?
Well, that's another thing he did is when I started going there, 2017, about a year after I started going with Judy there, I started hearing this little voice because we have such great speakers from all over that come there, pastors uh, who give the talks on Fridays, and I started hearing this little voice saying, it'd be neat if somebody would record this. These need to be, these should be recorded. And I knew it wasn't for me because I never picked up a video camera in my life. And so I kept hearing this voice telling me that, and for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I decided, Lord, I think you're trying to tell me something, so I'm going to go out and I just got one of the least expensive video cameras I could find.
Hmm.
And I brought it to Delinda and I said, I don't know how you feel about this, but I said, I keep hearing this voice telling me that somebody should record these talks. And she was like, oh my gosh, she said, I've been wanting this for so long.
Wow.
And so I guess, kind of threw myself into it. And I said, Holy Spirit, if you don't teach me how to do this, I'm not going to know how, because I have no clue.
Right. I understand. Okay. So where do you see yourself in the future? I mean, aside from wanting to learn, wanting to be led, by the Spirit, is there?
I would like to get better and better at the video. I don't know where that's going to take me, but I really believe unless he tells me to drop it, and I don't want to hang on to it so tight that I can't drop it. But until he tells me like what's next, I just keep asking him, Lord, just put your desires in my heart.
Okay,
And
very
he
good.
has.
Well, I appreciate you sharing this morning because I know that people don't understand until they've actually been through it, what you've been through, just putting yourself on the floor and saying, okay, I need an answer. And I think that's a great example of what the Lord can do for anyone, whatever their situation is. And so I really do appreciate you sharing with us this morning, Debbie. It's much appreciated, Debbie. Thank you so much. And
Thank you, Mike.
if you like this video and liked what Debbie was talking about, then please share it with someone, and be sure to hit the bell for future notifications. And for our friend Debbie Buckheim, this is Mark Sobowitz for A Clarion Voice.